Hey guys, Pastor Aaron here, and I'm hanging out with my wife, Kortney, and we actually just came up on 20 years of marriage, which is pretty incredible. Hard to believe, actually. And what we wanted to do is just take some time to spend a few minutes with you, just to really give you some practical kind of marriage insights. And by the way, it's nothing that we came up with on our own. Everything good we've ever learned about marriage, somebody else told us. And so we honestly just want to pass on to you what other people have passed on to us. So we're just going to take a few minutes to share a few principles that we feel would incredibly impact any marriage that puts them into practice. So, Kortney, why don't you start?
Sure. So I think one of the most important things that we learned is that the goal of marriage is oneness. And so it's sort of a filter that I see my activities through, I see my conversations through. Is this going to bring oneness in our marriage? Will this conversation bring oneness? What is the goal? What am I trying to accomplish here? Am I trying to win an argument? Am I trying to gain my independence in a situation? That's not how we should see things in marriage. We should see things as trying to bring us together in oneness.
Yeah. I think a second thing to that would be one of the things we learned early on, especially in terms of communication, was extending the benefit of the doubt. And so Paul writes to the Philippian church, he says that in humility, we should count others as more significant than ourselves. Well, if you're married, I don't know that there's a more important relationship for you to start that in than in your marriage. And so what that means practically is sometimes you're going to have those moments. And maybe you've experienced that a little bit, especially during this quarantine time, of just kind of being around each other all the time. And somebody says something they didn't mean or say something that maybe is hurtful. Well, what we've learned over time is that we give the benefit or try to the best of our ability to extend grace in that moment. In other words, if Kortney, is having a rough time and she says something that maybe I see as hurtful, I have an option to choose in that moment to extend grace and not retaliate, but to give her space to realize and to see what she was really trying to articulate. And usually later, by the time we go through that process, the other person is willing to come and say, hey, man, I really kind of messed that up and I said something I didn't mean. And honestly, I just would like you to forgive me. What we've learned over time is whether it's me or for Kortney, when we give space to extend the benefit of the doubt, there's real change in reuniting that happens during that time.
Yeah. Also, I think a huge realization for me was that my spouse is not my salvation.
Nope.
That Jesus is my salvation. And so when I expect my spouse to rescue me from a situation or to be the one who brings my ultimate happiness in life, I'm always going to be disappointed. And so just keeping in mind that God is my provider and he has provided for everything I need, that he is good and he has good things in store for me, helps me to filter this relationship that way and to see my spouse as a gift and kind of a bonus and not the ultimate source of where my hope and my strength comes from.
Yeah, and I think the last one, incredibly practical, but also just really, really helpful, and that is to have fun. Man, sometimes we're so serious trying to get our marriage right that the best thing, and honestly, in some cases, even the most spiritual thing you could do, is to go out on a date. Or if you're in quarantine, go out on the back deck or go for a walk or go up into your room after you put the kids to bed and watch a movie. Whatever you have to do to create an environment of fun in your relationship. Most marriages struggle not because they're not romantic enough, but because they're not friendly enough. Remember, most of us got into the situation because our wife was our best friend before they ever became our spouse. And so I want to encourage you to continue to foster that and grow that in your relationship because that, over time, makes a huge difference in the way you treat, love, and serve one another. So those are just 4 principles we would share with you guys, and hopefully that's been helpful.